The protagonist of this story, Aragi Kai, seemed to everyone around him to be an ordinary, gloomy teenager from high school. But in reality, he wasn't that simple at all. He was a professional assassin who terrified his victims, none of whom had ever escaped. Aragi Kai's classmates hated him and bullied him because of his antisocial character and weird aura. But everything changed one day when Aragi and his classmates were suddenly transferred to another world. A world of swords and magic. A mysterious messenger announces to them all that they are all heroes called to this world to defeat the Demon King. And for such a daunting task, she bestows them with superpowers. And obviously, Aragi Kai gets the most powerful one of all. Well, if you want to know which one, let's start this story from the beginning and get to the bottom of it. The scene starts with a man running through a dark alley. He looked anxious and afraid as he came to a stop. He looked back and thought that maybe he got away somehow, but then suddenly, someone put a knife against his throat. He told the assassin that he would give him money if he wanted it in return for his life, but the very next second, the assassin slit his throat. The next morning, a young schoolboy was on his way to school and he looked tired. His name was Aragi Kai. He yawned and thought that after working all night long, it really sucked to go to school. He worked as an assassin. When he entered his classroom, other students began whispering among themselves. A boy named Midu Shuji greeted him with a wide smile. He was the soccer club's ace and the class president. Kai returned his greeting coldly and sat down at his desk. Meanwhile, a girl named Nagase Reina saw it all and commented that Kai was rude as always. She was a fashionable girl who stood out from the rest of the girls in the class. She went to Shuji and told him sternly that he need not greet people like Kai. Shuji defended him by saying that he might be tired. That's why he was so cold. Suddenly, another student entered the classroom, and upon seeing him, Rina remarked how an even ruder person just entered. The rude student's name was Arashi Shunsuke, the leader of a notorious local gang. A few students greeted Arashi, but when he saw that Kai was sleeping, instead of greeting him, he went to his bench and yelled at him to get up. He drew his hand to grab him, but Kai grabbed his hand before he could react and said that he was sleepy and asked what he wanted from him. He let go of his hand, and Arashi called him a weirdo. Suddenly another student named Kenzaki Rin asked them to be quiet. She was beautiful and talented both in martial arts and literature. She was the cool and aloof top beauty of the school. He confronted her but was cut short by another girl named Hashimoto Mirei, who was a serious disciple committee girl who really cared about order. Watching her ready to fight Arashi, a boy named Narumi Yoshia told her that Arashi would just blow her away. Yoshia was a shallow and frivolous guy. Everyone soon got back to their seats. This was Shinzo High School. First year, class, and it was just another regular day in a class with a lot of problems. Kai was still keeping his head down when he suddenly sensed something. A weird sensation coming from under Shuji's feet. A bright blue light began emitting from the floor and a magic spell circle appeared. Soon everyone in the class noticed it and were confused and shocked. The magic circle grew in size and covered the entire classroom floor. Shuji instructed everyone to leave the classroom, but Kai knew that they would not make it in time. Soon the bright light blinded everyone. They were all teleported inside what looked like an old castle. Everyone was lying unconscious on the ground, and Kai was the first to come back to his senses. He noticed that the building was made of stone with several large pillars to take cover, and there was only one exit. Soon the other students also began coming back to their senses. Everyone was panicking, but Shuji calmed them down, and Kai was relieved that Shuji was someone who could keep the whole class from losing their composure. Arashi got up and said that they could not waste any time, and he asked his two minions to follow him. Kai stopped him and said that he could hear footsteps coming towards them from the other side of the door. Kai sensed that there was a man and a woman coming through. Soon the door opened and a girl and an old man entered the room. They both looked like medieval knight and princess and were wearing unusual and old-fashioned flowy clothes with capes. The girl greeted the students saying that they were impressive and called them hero candidates. The students were surprised to see them. Kai analyzed both of them and concluded that the man had the physique of a sword user and he had his guard up too. And as for the girl, he sensed slight muscles, but she seemed pretty normal to him. The girl introduced herself as Leonora, the Archbishop of the Holy Country, Digorest, and the man with her was Gaius, who was a knight and her protector. Arashi told her that he had never heard of the country before and asked her if she was messing with them. The girl replied that she certainly was not messing with them. Shuji came forward and explained to her that they suddenly found themselves there and were thus a little bit on edge. The girl began explaining the entire thing to them. She began by saying that they were summoned to a parallel world as a hope for humanity to defeat the evil Demon King. They were the parallel world's hero candidate. It was hard for the students to believe something like that. Gaius told Arashi to watch his mouth while talking to the saint of the country. Arashi was unfazed by this, and this made Gaius draw his sword, but Leonora pacified him. Arashi jumped at Gaius, and Kai was amazed by his bravery. Before Arashi could land an attack, Gaius flung his sword and made a little cut on his head. His attack was so fast that no one saw it. Leonora apologized for his aggression and said that she would explain everything to them in detail, but for that, they all had to be quiet and listen to her. Her demeanor suddenly changed from being calm to being scary. She explained that because of the Demon King's invasion, humanity of that world was facing extinction. The country of Digorest continued resisting, but they did not have the power to completely stop the invasion anymore. Kai thought that the story was a pretty common one. She continued that they were the last hope of humanity. Upon hearing this, the students replied that they could not do this as they had never fought before. Some of the girls were already crying. Gaia said that it might sound impossible, but they would have to try as there was no way for them to return to their own world unless they defeat the Demon King. The students were even more shocked upon hearing this. Kai knew that he only said that to motivate them. He thought that the people who had always lived peacefully could not just suddenly start killing, as for that they needed experience and talent. Arashi got up with blood on his head and cursed them for dictating them. He added that he hated people like them. Gaius noticed that Arashi's spirit was still unbroken and wondered if he could be a useful warrior. Gaius held his sword and decided to kill Arashi, as he could be trouble to them, but before he could do anything, he saw that Leonora was healing Arashi's wound. She explained that the power she was using was called the system and was granted to them by their gods. She simplified it for them and said that it was just like magic from their world. Kai noticed that she knew about their culture and wondered if she had previously also summoned people from their world. She walked toward Shuji while saying that the power was the reason why she summoned them all there. She raised her hands and Shuji's wrist began glowing, and soon he had a sword made of light in his hand. She further explained that they could wield the power of the system and awaken their innate abilities of divine protection. She said that she knew she had a selfish request as she called them all there and now they could not leave and asked them to lend her their powers. Shuji said that no matter how much power they gave them, they still could not fight right away. She replied that they will indeed be trained and during their training will be taken care of. Shuji took control of the situation and told his classmates that he knew they were scared, but the first thing they needed was information and protection. He told them that they should hear them for now, and the classmates agreed with him. When Leonora saw that they all were ready to lend their hands, she began giving them their divine powers. Mireri was given telekinesis. Arashi got explosion powers. Rina received fire powers. Yoshia received wind powers, and others also received different and amazing powers. Leonora asked if anyone was left, and Kai raised his hand. She gave him his powers too, and he noticed that his field of vision was changing, and as soon as he finished getting his powers, he could read Leonora's stats. His eye color changed to red, and Leonora told him that he had received the power of judgment, which was rather rare. The power would let him see his target's stats and details. He tried his powers on himself, and he was able to see his own stats. Arashi also tried his powers and made fun of Kai by saying that he only got a new eye color. Kai noticed that the students were acting high and mighty. They didn't even have much information about the world yet, and their powers were also borrowed and could be taken away any time. But he was chill because he had plenty of other ways to kill people. After everyone received their powers, Leonora told them to take some rest. In the evening, the hero candidates were taken to their personal rooms. Kai sneaked out of his window in search of more information. Outside guards were patrolling and talking about how the hero candidates looked weak. They made fun of how those kids are chosen to defeat the Demon King. One of them said that the saint surely knows something which they do not. Kai listened to their chat entirely. He used his judgment power to check the stats of one of the guards and noticed that he only knew swordsmanship. He soon left in search of more information. He had also learned about the structure of the city, which was a fortified city. He wanted to get inside the inner castle, but the gates were heavily guarded, so it was hard to sneak in. He decided not to rush things and come back another time. Meanwhile, in an open field, Rina was looking for a good spot with her two minions. They were there to practice their new powers. They began conjuring their respective elements and observing them as Rina was curious to know more about the whole divine protection stuff. Kai was hiding in a bush and spying on them when he suddenly felt a strange sensation. The girls also heard a weird noise coming from the bushes. It was a giant lizard-looking creature and was attracted by the girls' magic. Kai quickly used his magic to see the monster's stats, and he was shocked by its overwhelming stats. Soon, the monster roared and began chasing the girls. Kai concluded that the lizard was strong and aggressive, but it only ran in a straight line and also lacked intelligence. He threw a knife at it, and the knife successfully penetrated his thick skin. Meanwhile, Rina stumbled and fell on the ground. The monster had caught up to her and was about to step on her when suddenly it stopped moving. When the girls looked around, they saw a knife puncturing its head, and it was bleeding. They wondered if someone had saved her, but they decided not to stay there anymore, and they left. Kai had no reason to save them, but conscience did not let him ignore the situation. He thought to himself that things were not going to be easy around there if monsters like those were freely roaming around. He went near the monster's body to pick his knife when he suddenly sensed someone near him. He hid behind the monster's body and looked around, but did not see anyone. He went back to his room too to avoid any trouble. After he left, a person came out from behind a wall. The person was covered in a robe, thus making it impossible for anyone to look at their face. The person smashed the monster's head, squeezing out its eyes. He said to himself that he was disappointed after seeing how useless and weak the hero candidates were, but Kai smelled just like him. The next morning, Gaius brought the dead monster's body to the hero candidates, who were shocked to see something like that. Gaius explained that the monster was found dead last night near the royal capital. He continued that the Demon King drove the monsters to a frenzy, and as a result they craved human flesh. He told the hero candidates that they would be fighting things like that monster. Gaius asked Steady, who was a researcher, if he found anything weird about the monster, and he replied that there were traces of sorcery being used. Probably by a demon above mid-grade. He said that maybe they were scouting to see the lower of the new hero candidates. Kai wondered if sorcery was different from magic since it was a new word used by the researcher. Shuji asked if it meant that the monster was controlled by a demon. Steady explained that strong demons can use servitude spells and hence could control weaker monsters. Gaius dragged Steady away, but he wanted to explain more. Kai deemed Steady a great help in gathering information. He could use his help. He suddenly realized that the true identity of those eyes he felt back then last night was a demon. The demon was skillful because Kai barely noticed him. He thought that the demon might be around them right at that moment. He suddenly felt someone looking at him. Arashi told Gaius that they could not get back to their world without killing the demon anyway, and he did not plan to stay in that world for long. The other students also agreed with him. Kai thought that it was best that they quickly learn the weight of the truth. Suddenly, Leonora walked in and told them not to be afraid, as they just did not know how to use their powers yet. All they needed was some training. Since they were from a different world, their growth rate would be different from the people of that world. And so, a week had passed since the students started training. Kai was reading books in the library, and he already could understand every letter of the new language. He thought that it was strange enough that they could talk to each other in the first place. His judgment power was not fit for battle, so he was left out of the training but was allowed to enter the library. He could not find many books on their history and culture, and even not about demons. The strongest 5 among them were Narumi the Wind Controller, Arashi with his explosion powers, Kanzaki with her telekinesis, Hashimoto with her land power, and Reina with her fire powers. However, there was another person with a clearly extraordinary growth rate. It was Shuji. He grew stronger than the people he learnt swordsmanship from. Kai used his judgment power and noticed that all his stats were above B grade, and just last week they were below D grade. Suddenly 2 boys came to Kai and began making fun of him, and he noticed that even the others were looking down at him. They were growing impudent after getting their new powers. One of the boys tried to bully Kai, but Kai sneakily threw him on the ground. Meanwhile, Leonora and Gaius arrived at the training ground. She announced that since they all had grown quicker than she had imagined, she had decided to move their plans forward. Narumi asked her if she was planning to send them to fight the Demon King, but she refused it, saying that she wanted them to now practice fighting monsters. Everyone looked anxious when they heard it. The next day, Gaius and Leonora took all the hero candidates to the middle of a forest, and Gaius explained that they were there for combat drills. It was a place full of upstars, so they could not move as freely as one group. That's why they were going to be divided into teams of 2 to 3 people. Hearing these, all the hero candidates made their own groups, leaving Kai and Kanzaki alone. They had no choice but to team up with each other. Kai thought that she had a confident and apathetic personality, and also she was proud. She caught him staring at her. Meanwhile, Leonora announced that since it was a special occasion, so the team which will defeat the most monsters would receive a surprise reward. Soon the combat drills began. On their way, Kanzaki told Kai that her powers were superior to everyone else's, so she did not need him to do anything. She asked him not to stand in his way. Kai accepted the offer and said that he would leave everything to her. Seeing this, she asked him if he did not have any pride. He sensed 4 entities around them who were hiding. One of the monsters rushed at them, and Kanzaki used her powers. Her power was called Domination, and it was an ability that enforced the user's orders on their target. She ordered the goblin to bow down, and he did exactly that. She looked visibly tired after a few minutes. She explained to him that she used to get tired when she used her powers for too long because it consumed a lot of mana. He asked her to just kill the goblin because another monster was about to attack, but she was a little hesitant because to her the monster looked a bit like a human. Kai put sense in her by saying that it was a monster after all, which tried to attack them earlier. He picked a stone and concluded that she was just a naive student from Japan who was too used to peace. He was playing with the store when suddenly the other 3 goblins also appeared. She ordered the goblins to bow down and asked Kai to help him instead of just standing there. Kai replied that she was the one who asked him not to get in between. She sighed and ordered the goblins to twist their own necks, and this killed them. He was amazed to see that she could enforce such orders too, to which she replied that the more difficult the order was, the lower were the chances of success. She was disgusted to see the corpses of the goblins, but Kai comforted her with his words of wisdom. She asked him how he could be so calm when he did not even have powers. He told her not to worry about him as this was his strong point. He asked her if she wanted to return if she was too scared of it all, but obviously she denied the proposal with pride. He knew that she was just trying to look brave, but he also admitted that she was not too bad after all. Meanwhile, Narumi and Hashimoto were running from a monster who was too strong for them. But running was not an option for them, so they decided to attack the monster together using their wind and rock powers. They hit the monster with a giant boulder, but it barely scratched it. They were helpless and did not know what to do next. Kenzaki wanted to go back to her world as she had not repaid her grandfather for raising her yet. She really wanted to show him how much she had grown up. She was lost in her thoughts when Kai asked her if she wanted to keep going since they could get lost. They both got into a banter, and she wondered why Kai was so mysterious and stubborn. They were messing around when suddenly they heard a loud noise. Kenzaki recognized the voice to be Hashimoto's. Kai asked what they should do, and she replied that they should obviously help her. Meanwhile, Hashimoto was thrown feet away by the monster, and she was wounded and bleeding. She asked Narumi to run away, but it was too late as the monster was about to attack him too. Kenzaki used her powers and ordered the monster to stop. Narumi thanked her, and she said that the monster was too powerful and could not be halted for too long. Kai asked Narumi if Hashimoto was alive, to which he replied that she was, but she was really injured. Kai asked her to carry her on his back and get out of there. He was reluctant to leave, but seeing her condition, he left. When he left, Kai used his powers to see the monster's stats and was amazed to see some pretty high stats, especially the defense. He knew his attacks would not damage him a lot, and he also noticed that it was a mutant, and he wondered what it was exactly. Kenzaki yelled that she could not hold it anymore, and he told her that she had bought them enough time and they should run away too. She agreed, seeing the situation, but she could not use her legs anymore because she had used all her energy into stopping the monster. Seeing how bad the situation was, Kai pulled out a smoke grenade and triggered it. This bought him some more time to grab Kenzaki and hide away. She was a little flustered for being carried in his arms. She asked him what the smoke was, and he explained that it was a smoke grenade which he had made while they all were training. He was lying as he had some equipment on himself before being summoned. Since it was not much, he did not want to use them carelessly. They were basic assassin equipment. Kenzaki apologized to him since she was the one who said that they should go and save them, and she ended up being saved herself. Kai asked her not to say sorry, instead she could thank him. Again, a banter between them followed. She said that they should run away, but he replied that there was no need for that. They both saw Shuji and others arriving at the location, and without wasting any time, he attacked the bear for hurting his friends. Shuji swiftly attacked the monster and injured its hand. Rina jumped in and used her fire powers at the monster, but it didn't seem to affect it much except for slowing it. They again jumped at the monster. All the while, someone was watching them from a distance. It was a veteran assassin demon named Delphus. Delphus smirked and said to himself that the armored monster could not beat the hero candidates because of their quick growth. He liked how calm they were, especially Shuji. It was supposed to be a scouting mission, but it was time for a change of plans. He decided to end them there. Meanwhile, Shuji and the others were able to defeat the monster. Delphus grinned and was about to attack them when suddenly he was stopped by a dagger on his neck. It was Kai. Delphus was stunned to be caught like that. He was stressed and wondered how Kai was able to get behind him. He needed a way to quickly escape. Kai slashed his legs and threw him on the ground. He asked him not to make noise as he did not want Shuji and the others to notice him. Kai said that if he would answer some of his questions, then he would let him go. Delphus was not ready to give up, but he had no other choice as Kai had the upper hand. Kai wondered if the person who was watching him the other night was him only. Kai said that he knew they were being watched, and it was his plan to let Shuji and the others to fight so that he could be lured out. Cutting him short, Kai said that he needed information since it had not been long since they came to this world, and he would have to tell him whatever he would ask him. Delphus smirked and declined, but Kai slashed his hands too and said that it would be easier if he just cooperate. Delphus told him not to underestimate him and saying that he consumed some poison he was carrying, thus killing him on the spot. Kai understood that the army of the Demon King would not be easy to fight with. Suddenly Kenzaki came to him and was shocked to see the dead body lying near them. Kai asked her since how long was she watching, and she replied that since the person was on the ground. He explained to her that the dead demon was an assassin from the Demon King's army, and the monster from earlier was his pawn. And back when the first lizard monster was seen, That too was his doing. She was scared a little to know that the Demon King was trying to kill the hero candidates. She asked him how did he notice the assassin when no one else did. He thought that there was no reason to hide his secret, and he confessed to her that his family was in the assassination business, so he could smell that he was in the same line of work. Kanzaki was shocked upon this revelation. He told her that it was upon her to believe, and also asked her not to tell anyone about the dead body, as the hero candidates were already shaken by Hashimoto's condition. She agreed to him and said that she did not know that he cared about them so much, to which he replied that it was simply because they were not used to fighting like him. All the hero candidates gathered around Hashimoto, who was severely injured and lying on the floor. A student named Hano, who had healing powers, sat down near her and used her powers to heal her. Everyone was amazed to see her powers. She announced that Hashimoto would be healed in about an hour. Hero candidates were praising Shuji for defeating the monster. Suddenly, Leonora and Gaius walked in, and the candidates asked them where they were all this time and why did not they help them when they needed it. Gaius explained that he was there all the time, keeping an eye on them, and that it would not be a good practice if he just saved them every time. Shuji said that the condition was severe, and Hashimoto could even lose her life, to which Gaius replied that putting one's life on the line was a natural part of practical military drills. That was the kind of battle they would be facing going forward, and thus they should not be making feeble complaints. Shuji questioned him when he said that the area only had weaker monsters. Then how did the armored monster appear? Leonora said that it must be because of the demon assassin, as armored monsters are not supposed to be in that area. Gaius and Leonora decided to strengthen their defenses as they didn't know that Kai had already killed the assassin. Leonora also added that they should be increasing their level of training, as at their current level, they would all just die. Everyone was scared to hear that, and Shuji tried to talk some sense to her, but she told him that getting stronger was the only way to live. Arashi did not like that they were being ordered around, and he jumped in to talk to Leonora, but Gaius stopped him and said that they were all just pawns of Leonora, and they should not think that they could just disobey her orders. The situation was getting heated up, and Shuji jumped in to calm Arashi down, as they had no other option other than to obey them. Gaius was impressed by Shuji, and he told the candidates not to worry, as they were important pawns for the country, and they would not do anything bad to them as long as they all acted properly. Arashi still was not satisfied, and he attacked Gaius with his explosive power, but Gaius was quick to evade it, and he punched Arashi so hard that he fell to the ground. Saying that they all were weak and that from the next day things would only get tougher, he and Leonora left. Arashi got up with a bleeding face and swore to kill Gaius. The next day, Steady the researcher was in charge of the training. After a brief conversation about the last day, he said that they were going to fight monsters at his research facility. Inside the facility, all kinds of monsters were locked. He was raising those monsters for his experiment. Soon the drill began, and hero candidates were made to fight monsters. Kai noticed that everyone was surprisingly calm even though they were forced to fight. Shuji told Steady that the monsters were strong for the candidates, but Steady replied that Lenora had asked him to be very strict with everyone, and thus he could not and would not ease the training. Besides, he added that hero candidates with peers like theirs should not be losing in the first place. He added that the most important thing was their will. Shuji asked if it would really make a difference, and he replied that if done correctly, then they could increase their power's level and could even give new derivatives of their power. Kai also joined them and told Shuji that according to his judgment power, he could see that Shuji had a new power. Shuji was surprised to hear that and asked Steady if he could test it out. Steady was excited to see the power himself, so he allowed him. Shuji used his new powers, and in an instant, he cut the monster's hand and head with a clean slash. Kai knew that Shuji would now not struggle with an armored monster. He wondered if his judgment powers were also leveled up. Kai noticed that someone else also had received a new power, and it was Arashi, but he decided not to tell him. Later that night, Arashi was planning to kill Gaius, tie up Leonora, and ask her the way to get back to their real world. A few other candidates were in his support, and excited to leave the world too. Arashi asked Narumi to join them as they would have a better chance, and he knew that Narumi was fed up with that world too. Narumi was hesitant, but in the end he decided to join his hand. The next day Shuji was training, and Kai went up to him and said that he was really working hard. Shuji replied that he was still weak and needed to get better, to which Kai replied that with his current power level, he could defeat half the knights of that world. Shuji said that it was not enough, as he could not defeat Gaius, and he needed more power to protect everyone. Kai asked him what he thought of Leonora and Gaius, and he replied he knew that they were using them as pawns in their battle, but he also knew they would not harm them. Kai asked if he meant that he would put his life on the line until the Demon King was defeated. Shuji agreed, and said that he had made up his mind, but he must be the only one that had to fight. He would become the country's hero and defeat the Demon King, and would try to negotiate and make sure everyone else could live safely in exchange. Kai asked if Leonora would allow him to do so, and just right then she and Gaius walked in. She told Steady that he would be in charge of the candidates' training while she would be away. Steady was glad to do his part, saying that she and Gaius left. Later, while on their way, Gaius asked her if she was sure that she made the right choice, to which she asked what made him think that. He asked her not to play around and say it to the point. He added that Arashi was stirring something up, and she agreed, saying that it might be a rebellion against them. He asked her next move, and she said that she was curious to see what they would do next. Gaius was a little concerned about the rebellion, as after all they were hero candidates and had powers, so it could be disastrous for them. But Leonora was calm, as she knew they could not defeat her ever. She added that they should create a hierarchy so that they could crush the rebellion and break their fangs once and for all. She also told him that she could see some other suspicious things but would leave them for now. Later that night, Kai was fighting a monster, and he killed him in the same way he killed the monster the first night. He only took 13 seconds, and when he used his judgment power on himself, he noticed that he had leveled up. Suddenly, another monster attacked him, but was one tough and his blades could not pierce him. This was the perfect time to test his new skill. He used his new power, which could detect the target's weak spot. Upon detecting the spot, he killed the monster in a blink of an eye. It was not a bad skill, but he needed more to survive in that world. He needed to get even stronger. More monsters attacked him, and he defeated them too easily. He needed a bigger test subject to test his skill. He heard human footsteps and saw Kanzaki and asked her what she was doing there so late at night. She said that she was looking for him since he was not in the dorm. He asked her to leave, as the forest was a dangerous place to be at night. He was used to fighting at night, but she was not. She shut him up and asked him what he was doing there anyway. He told her that he was testing his new powers. She asked him what was his new power, but he began messing up with her, and she confessed that she was worried for him. When confronted, she turned red and began making excuses. They were talking when suddenly they saw smoke rising from some distance. It was a fire. Their dorm was on fire. They both ran back and saw other candidates fighting monsters. Narumi said that he was glad to see them both. He said that when he woke up, he saw the fire and the monsters. Kai said that it was a human's doing and the ringleader had to be close by. He told them to find and catch whoever had done it. Steady appeared on top of the building and told them that their judgment was good. Kai said that he was wondering how the monsters appeared, but now it all made sense. They were all monsters from his laboratory. He has also given them some medicine to grow stronger since they were too weak to be of any use. Kai asked him what was objective and what benefit would he get from killing candidates. He told them it was a direct order from above. He was told to destroy the candidates even if it meant to throw away his current position. He smiled and said he did not have anything against them, but he would have to kill them sadly. They asked if it was Leonora's order, but he denied that by saying of course not, as it was not that Vixen's order. It was the Demon King's order. He was the Demon King's spy. He said that if he did the job right, he was going to be offered the post of a researcher over there too. Kai asked him if he had fallen so deep into darkness that all he cared about was high researching monsters. Steady said that monsters were way beyond human comprehension. He ordered his monsters to attack them, and Kanzaki used her powers to halt them, but it was no use as they quickly broke her spell and attacked her. Kai jumped in and saved her, and this excited Steady a lot as he was amazed by his powers. Kai continued killing the other monsters. He killed almost a dozen of them, and Steady was now furious as Kai did not even have a strong power to begin with. He used judgment power on Steady and saw that all his stats were poor. But what caught his eyes the most was that he too had domination powers like Kanzaki, but even stronger, and that was the reason why Kanzaki's power was nullified. Steady was shaken, and he used something which he did not want to use, but he had no choice. He told Kai that he would soon know what he used. Kai jumped up to attack him as he did not want to waste any time, but suddenly a giant red dragon spewed fire at him. This was Steady's trump card. The dragon began hurling boulders at them. Kai asked Narumi to take Kanzaki and leave as the next attack was coming. Kai again used his power to locate the dragon's weak spot, and it was its neck. He tried to cut it, but his attack power was not enough to do so. Suddenly Arashi appeared and attacked the dragon, and then began boasting about how he could hurt him, but the dragon counter-attacked him. Kai told Arashi that they need to take down the monster together. Arashi questioned him as to why he would need him to, which Kai replied that he could spot the weak points, but he did not have enough attack power. Arashi was being stubborn and said that he did not need help from a noob, but they did not have time for that as the dragon attacked again. The dragon spewed fire again at Arashi, and he finally decided to team up with Kai. Kai explained to him its weak point, which was a scale on its neck. Kai planned to get its attention while Arashi would attack at the weak point. Steady ordered the dragon to kill them. The dragon again rushed at them and Kai distracted it while Arashi attacked the weak point. This threw the dragon to the ground. The dragon was defeated, and Kai asked Steady if he had anything else as his trump card had lost. Steady said that he still had other monsters, but unfortunately Shuji and the others had already defeated them all. Steady tried to run away but was caught by Narumi. Kai asked him to tell them everything, and he easily agreed as he was a coward. But before he could tell anything, his body turned purple, and he died. A curse was put on him that would kill him the moment he tried to leak information. The next day, the candidates confronted Leonora when she returned, as she was the one who left Steady in charge. She apologized and explained that she did not think that a weak demon tamer like him could cause so much damage. Candidates were shocked to know that she knew Steady was a demon tamer. They asked her that if she knew he was a demon, then why did she allow him to be near them? In her defense, she said that she had already told them that their training was going to be harder, and thus what happened was just a part of it. Gaius accused them for not being careful enough to see a fire at night. Leonora told them that they all will be visiting the royal capital next. Focusing on the reveal of the hero candidates, a public parade would be held in the royal capital, and they would be going on stage as leading actors. That evening, they all set out for the capital, and at night, they camped in a field. While eating, Arashi told his minions that there were around 30 soldiers with them, and they were really not that strong. He said that it was time to put their plan into action. They could easily outnumber them. He asked one of his minions to call Narumi and his group over. Kai was listening to his speech, and he agreed that there were very soldiers accompanying them. But it was only because Gaius and Leonora were confident that they could take them down themselves. He went to Shuji and asked him they could talk. Later that night, Arashi and Narumi met in the forest nearby. They were ready to attack the soldiers when Shuji and the other candidates came in their way to stop them. Shuji said that he had heard that Arashi was trying to kill Leonora and Gaius, and Arashi was shocked to know that his plan was leaked somehow. They tried to put some sense in him by saying that there could be another way to do it, other than simply killing them. Arashi told Shuji that all he did was talk, and asked him if he had a plan, to which he replied that he would act as a pawn and defeat the Demon King, and in exchange, he would guarantee everyone's safety. Arashi was not ready for this trade and told him to get out of his way, but Shuji and the others were not going to let him pass. Since they could not agree to a point, they began fighting. Suddenly 2 soldiers came in and told them to sleep since they had an early morning trip tomorrow. Arashi walked away saying that he had enough of the weakness and there was no point in talking to them. They all reached the royal capital the next day, and it was too crowded because of the ceremony. People on the streets were amazed to see the hero candidates. The people seemed to have a lot of faith in them. At the castle, they were greeted by Holy Knight Rains, who asked them to rest first. All the candidates were pleased and happy to get the royal treatment, from fluffy beds to hot water baths. They were offered the best food too. Kai decided to gather some more information, but there were a lot of guards. He suddenly saw the knight who was showing them around. Reynes was talking to his soldiers about how he found the candidates stronger than normal children of their age. One of the soldiers said that he was worried that letting the hero candidates into the royal capital would surely incite those demons to take some action. Reynes told them not to worry, as the candidates were strong and could take care of anything. Kai had more questions, so he thought of going to the town. At night, he went to one of the pubs and ordered ale and some snacks. People were talking about the hero candidates and how they looked like normal kids to them. He noticed that the people there were more afraid of the church than the king or nobles. He asked the bartender to tell him more. He said that he was new to town, thus he did not know a lot. The bartender told him about the Demon King and the way he was attacking the kingdom. He also added that the Demon King could even seduce humans with their overwhelming power. He also told him how the Demon King's followers blew up a noble estate a few days ago. Kai left the pub thinking how the candidates being in the capital was surely not the best thing. Suddenly Kenzaki came to him because she was worried for him. He explained to her that he was gathering information since they were in an unknown territory. She was visibly worried and said that she could help him, but he refused, and she did not like his attitude. After a small banter, he finally agreed to let her help. He asked her to gather information about the royal capital. She left to gather information, and so did Kai, but someone was listening to their entire conversation. The man smirked when he saw her leaving. Kai finally got back into his room after a tiresome search. He did not find anything important, but he at least learned the existence of a new enemy. He suddenly heard noises coming from outside his room, and when he went out, he saw the other candidates gathered in the hall. When he asked, he got to know that Kenzaki was missing. They didn't notice him gone too because he didn't share his room with anyone. When asked, he denied that he knew anything. Shuji concluded that she was not in the castle, and since it was almost dawn, they should go out and look for her. They all spread around to look for her. Kai found her student ID fallen on the street. As soon as he picked it up, 4 masked men attacked him, but his reaction time was so quick that he instantly took down 3 men. He asked the 4th one who he was, since they all were pretty untrained spies. The 4th spy was too stunned to run away, and Kai asked him to tell everything he knew. Meanwhile, in what looked like a castle, Kenzaki was tied up and held. 2 spies were interrogating her, but she was not answering them. They wanted to know about the hero candidates. When they saw that she was not cooperating, one of the spies ripped her shirt off. They did not know, but Kai was already inside and was spying on them. He used his judgment powers and noticed that they were pretty weak ones. He couldn't believe that she was captured by such weak men. He quickly killed them. Kanzaki was embarrassed to see him in her exposed state. He unlocked her chains and was about to leave when he sensed someone coming towards them at full speed. It was Rains the Holy Knight, and he attacked them without wasting any time, but they both dodged his attack. He smiled and said that he must really kill them. Besides being the Holy Knight, he was also the general of the Demon King's army. Kai said that the country was close to its end because of how even the capital was full of enemies. Kai used his judgment and saw that Rhaenys was a powerful warrior. He was an all-rounder. They both clashed again, and Kai was able to dodge his sword. But then Rains used fire magic, which caught Kai off guard. He somehow dodged the attack again, but then Rains engulfed his sword with fire and said that it was over for Kai, but Kai quickly pulled out his gun and shot him right in the middle of his temple. Rains fell down and died. Kai did not want to use his gun for something like that since he had limited bullets, but he had no other choice. He needed to learn how to fight face to face if he wanted to survive in that world. Kanzaki was stunned to see a gun with him and said how scary it was to learn that someone in the class carried a gun with him. He explained to her that it was just standard equipment for an assassin. She thanked him, and he asked her why she didn't use her domination power, to which she replied that after her hands were locked with the chain, she couldn't use her powers somehow. They were leaving, and she told him that those guys were trying to attack everyone from their class, but he already knew it while interrogating the fourth guy he had captured earlier. The fourth guy told him that they were ordered to kill all the hero candidates, and it was him who told her about Kanzaki's location. They wanted to use her as a hostage while attacking others. What they couldn't understand was the fact that he was not killed by the death curse like how Steady died. This meant that this was not done by a demon. This meant that some humans were against them. It was almost morning and Shuji found them and was glad to see her well. Kai told him everything about the Demon King's cult and how humans were against humanity too. The problem now was that they could not tell which humans were their enemies like they could tell with monsters. This meant that everyone needed to be more cautious. They decided not to tell Leonora, as she would simply tell them to look at it themselves. So they ended up deciding to gather everyone and decide a course of action. Suddenly, a smoke appeared around them, and soon they were surrounded by more cult members. They all got ready to fight. Not only these three, but all the other candidate groups were also cornered by the men. Kai read that there were 6 of them, and their stats were obviously lower than Rhaenys, but still they were strong. All the 6 men jumped at them. Kanzaki used her powers to halt them, and Kai pierced their heads with sharp knives, thus killing them instantly. Shuji was a little stressed to see it as they were all humans after all. Shuji tried to debate about it, but Kai shut him up, saying that they were enemies at the end of the day. One remaining cult member attacked Shuji, and he tried to reason with him, but the cult member said that he was just serving his master. Kanzaki was ready to use her powers again, but Kai stopped her, saying that he wanted Shuji to kill the man. Shuji broke the man's sword and asked him to surrender if he wanted to live. But the man was too stubborn and he attacked Shuji, injuring his hand. In a counterattack, Shuji slashed his body. The man was whimpering, and Shuji wanted to leave him there to die, but Kai told him to eliminate him there itself, or else he could be a threat. Shuji was reluctant, but he ended up doing just what Kai told him to do. Meanwhile, Arashi and his minions also defeated all the men. The last man was merciless, killed by Arashi's power. Rina and others were finding it difficult to kill humans, and except Rina, the other girls were getting injured. Suddenly, Leonora appeared at the scene and asked if she should give them the passing grade. The men grew angrier when they saw Leonora, and she said that since they were her candidates, it was to be expected that she would come and help them when they were in danger. One of the men said that she did not even have her knight with her, so how would she do it? She taunted them by saying that they were just a bunch of amateurs seduced by the Demon King, and she did not even consider them as enemies in the first place. All the men jumped at her at the same time, and she used her domination power to stick all of them to the ground. The men could not move, and Rina said that her powers were just like Kanzaki. But Leonora asked her not to compare her powers to something like that, as her domination skill was superior in every aspect, from range to power. Rina asked her why she saved them, to which she replied that she had mentioned about giving a passing grade. They all thanked her for protecting them, and one of the men held her dress and asked her not to ignore them and free them. She looked down and apologized to the man, for he was still alive. She then used her domination power on all the candidates and ordered them to kill the men lying on the floor. Their bodies began moving on their own, and they all killed all the men against their will. Such was the power of Leonora. Kai and Kanzaki were watching it all unfold from far away, and Kanzaki was amazed to see her able to control so many people at once. Her range and power was completely at a different level. 12 hours after the attack, all the candidates gathered again in the hall. A lot of them were in a pretty bad state and shocked. Narumi said that he would not let her go as she made all the candidates kill against their will. Shuji was blaming himself for not getting there sooner, but Kai explained to them that it would not have made any difference, as none of them were currently strong enough to resist Leonora. Kai knew for a fact that since the demon army's general was defeated, they would not be able to make a move for a while. He then asked Kanzaki to come with him. She asked him the purpose, and he told her that in order to find a way to deal with Leonora's domination magic, he wanted the help of someone who had similar powers like her. He then asked her to dominate him, with her powers. Hearing this, she was flustered and all red. The day after they repelled the cult members, the kingdom held a massive parade celebrating the summoning of the hero candidates. This was the proof that the hero candidates displayed their power during their battle against the cult of the Demon King. They were embraced with open arms by the royal capital's citizens. When all the candidates gathered together, Leonora told them that she would like them to return to the Temple City Alpha. Kai explained to the others that it was the name of the city they were summoned to, and he thought that it was under Leonora's control. He asked Leonora if she wasn't coming with them too. She replied that she still had some matters to take care of, so she would be leaving them all under Gaius's care. Rina said that they wished they could return, but their dorms were burnt down. Rina noticed that one of the girls was looking flushed and was not even able to answer the questions. She was too afraid of Leonora. Leonora left with a grin, and all the candidates held resentment against her. Soon, Gaius took all the candidates with him towards their destination. At night they all camped, and Arashi and the others again went into the forest. Kanzaki asked Kai if they were really going to do it that night, and he replied that Leonora was not there and all the soldiers were weaklings, and hence it was the best opportunity to kill Gaius. Under these conditions, there was no reason for him to stop them, and he would just enjoy the show. Meanwhile, Narumi had taken Gaius deep into the forest, saying that he had seen a giant monster. Gaius fell into his trap as the road led to the royal capital, and a monster lurking around there was dangerous. Suddenly, Arashi attacked Gaius from behind with his full power. Gaius was not expecting the attack, and so he took the hit and began bleeding. Arashi told him that even his best attack couldn't kill him. Gaius was not steady on his feet, and he suddenly stepped on a landmine which blew up. Arashi smiled and said that it was all a trap set up for him. Gaius used mana to defend himself, but he still was injured greatly. Gaius said that he was disappointed in him as he didn't expect him to ambush him like that. Suddenly, all the other members of Arashi's group surrounded the old man. Seeing the gravity of the situation, Gaius threw a light ball up in the sky which acted like a firework. Kanzaki and Kai also saw that from afar, and Kai remarked how Arashi had messed up. The light ball was a distress signal, and the soldiers saw it and went towards that direction. They could not reach the location since Kai got in their way and killed them all. Meanwhile, Gaius was getting beaten by the candidates. He could barely keep up with them and their powers. Soon he lost his one arm and was all red with blood. Arashi complimented him by saying that he was tough for his age. Narumi told them about the distress signal and said that he was trying to buy some time, but Gaius replied that there was no longer any need for that. Leonora walked in with her usual smile and said that Gaius was driven quite into the corner. The candidates were shocked to see her. At the same time, Shuji, Reina, and other candidates saw Kanzaki using her domination power to tie up some soldiers. She told them that she was following orders, but they did not buy it since they knew she was not the one who would follow someone's order. Kai came in and told them that she was following his orders. Shuji was again stunned to hear that he killed the guards. He explained that Arashi already had his hands full fighting Gaius, so he took care of the guards. Shuji and the others understood the entire thing now. Shuji asked him if he teamed up with Arashi, to which he replied that he was just doing what he wanted to do. Kai told him that he should be looking for Arashi rather than bugging him. Shuji and the others left to look for Arashi and the others. Leonora told Gaius that he was losing, and he accepted it, saying that he could not fight his old age after all. Arashi said that after everything that has happened, he was not going to tuck his tail between his legs and run away. One of the candidates asked him if she wasn't the one who was controlling them. Leonora replied to this saying that there were also other conditions that were needed to be fulfilled. If they had a big mana pool to resist, it would not be that effective. But for those who always relied on their powers and were not used to controlling their mana, it was easy for her to control everyone. Arashi called her a coward and challenged her that she would not be able to fight them head-on. She smiled and said that she would deal with them herself. She added that she would break his fangs. Arashi jumped at her and she quickly summoned a huge chunk of boulder and sent him flying. She then manipulated other elements like fire, water, and air to defeat the other candidates. Narumi came and picked up Arashi and flew up in the sky. Suddenly, Shuji and the other candidates also arrived. He told Arashi to stop the fight and asked him what he would gain from it. Arashi told him to stop him with his strength if he wanted to, because he hated the pacifist methods of his. Shuji asked the others if they thought the same, and Rina stood up and said she supported Arashi. Leonora laughed and said that they were still fighting among themselves. She added that at that point they were responsible for starting a rebellion. She then asked them if they expected her to forgive them, even if they were to stop the rebellion at the moment. She then conjured a huge cyclone and injured everyone. Shuji was tense to see everyone hurt, but Arashi told him to calm down and said that if he wanted to protect everyone, then he would have to resolve himself or else everyone would be dead. Shuji understood the situation as there was no other way. He got ready to fight, and so did Reina and the others. Leonora said that she would show them the difference between her and them. Meanwhile, not so far away, Kanzaki asked Kai what they should do. He told her that once Leonora uses her magic to enslave them, then he would join in. Until then, they should trust the other candidates. The candidates were ready to fight Leonora, and Gaius managed to get up and said that he was weak, but he still wanted to fight for her. Leonora healed all his wounds, and he was better than ever to fight. Candidates were scared as they did so much to corner Gaius, but now he was back. Rena told him that their number had increased too, so they would make up for it. Leonora told them that they could attack her anytime they wanted. For her, the battle would be a test for them. She added that if they could not win against her, then they could not be a hero after all. Soon, the fight began, and Gaius noticed that it was difficult to fight Shuji with his magic sword. Leonora used water magic to attack Shuji, but Reina nullified it, but still he was injured by the attack. They attacked Leonora, but none of the attacks could even touch her. Meanwhile, Kai was hiding in the shadows, and he used his judgment to check Leonora's stats, and he noticed that although she was a powerful magician, her defense was weak. One good physical attack would be enough, but Gaius was in their way. Arashi asked Shuji to leave Gaius to him and go take down Leonora. Shuji had a problem though, and it was that his magic could not touch her either. One of the candidates gave him a steel sword, and Leonora commented that now he seemed ready for combat, finally. The other candidates could not help Shuji as their powers would not work on her, and they could not help Arashi either as he was fighting in close range. Arashi was able to go head-to-head with Gaius, because although he was healed, his stamina was still low. But he also could not use his explosive power, so again it was equal. Leonora was using ranged attacks at Shuji so that he could not get close to her with his sword. There had to be something which he could do to get close and defeat her, but he did not know what it was. Leonora smiled and said it was expected of Shuji as there were very few people in the country who could dodge her attacks. It was still a one-sided battle since he was not close enough to her. He could not even rely on the other candidates. Shuji dashed at her with full speed and negated her wind attacks. She used ground and fire attacks too, but he dodged them. She noticed that he was unconsciously using magic as an armor, which meant that he was growing in such a short period of time. She was a little afraid of him, but she managed to throw him away with her powers. Meanwhile, Arashi could not rely on his powers anymore and was wondering what he could do to beat Gaius. Gaius slashed his abdomen in one strike. Arashi was angry at himself for not being able to defeat an old man. He knelt on the ground and Gaius told him that this was how far he could go without his powers. Arashi told him that he was meant to be strong, and he then punched him so hard that the old man fell to the ground, bleeding again. He won. Meanwhile, Shuji thought that he had to win, or else his friends would have to suffer. He got up, and a menacing aura surrounded him. Leonora noticed his astounding stamina but was pretty chill as she knew he could not get close to her. She was wrong, as in a blink of an eye Shuji was right in front of her and he managed to slash her hand. It was impossible according to her, but she had no time to think as now Shuji was right behind her. She managed to use water powers to push him away somehow. She understood that he had gained instant movement powers. He again used his new power and was just an inch away from slicing her neck when suddenly she commanded him to kneel down. He could not move, and she smiled and said that she did not want to use it, but she had no choice. Kai noticed that she had finally used her trump card, and he asked Kanzaki to move. Leonora smirked and said that she did not expect to use enslaving magic, but Shuji made her do it. He was lying at her feet like a statue. Other candidates rushed to save Shuji, but Leonora commanded them to not move, and they all stopped midway. Leonora said that they all did a good job, and thus she would give them a passing grade. She added that she did not expect Gaius to lose, but after all, he was just a knight and could be replaced. As long as she controlled them, it would not be a problem. The candidates were losing hope, and if they did not have any countermeasures, then they would surely lose. She told them all that the reason why they allowed her to summon the candidates was so that when the time came, she could control them freely. Otherwise, they would become threats. Suddenly 3 knives attacked her from behind, but she easily dodged them and said that she knew he was hiding the whole time. It was Kai, and he replied that he was surprised that she paid attention to someone as ordinary as him. She said that from the beginning there was something odd about him. She said that she was disappointed in him because she did not expect him to come out to a losing battle like that. She ordered him to not move, and he too was under her spell. She was explaining her magic when suddenly a bullet hit her shoulder. She was surprised to see that he could move and fire even under her spell. She asked him how he could do so, as she was sure that she was using her magic on him. He again shot her in her abdomen, and she couldn't understand what weapon it was, since guns weren't a thing in her world. Her defense could not keep up. He explained to her what a gun is, and also said that he had few bullets, and he did not want to use them. She used her firepower, but only his robe was hit by the fire, and he wasn't there anymore. The next second, he was standing right behind her with his gun aimed at her head. He said that he knew she wasn't a good close-range fighter, and her enslaving magic did not work on her either. She was shocked and in denial. Kai had played a gamble, and he won. The reason was Kanzaki. That night when he asked Kanzaki to dominate him, he explained to her that the skill that was casted first would have the priority over the new casted skill. This meant that if she used her domination power on him first, then it would negate the enslaving magic. And since candidates had divine protection, therefore their powers were superior to magic. Kanzaki was in doubt as her skill was weaker than Leonora's magic. The same thing happened with Steady. Since he had casted his spell before her, therefore he was able to regain control over his monsters. It was a gamble, but they had no other chance. In the present, Leonora realized that it must be Kanzaki, and she was correct as Kai was under her spell. He told her that it was her end and was about to pull the trigger. Leonora was captured and handcuffed. The handcuffs sealed her magic power, and these were the same handcuffs which had previously been used on Kanzaki. She asked Kai what he was planning to do with her. His demand was simple, which was that if she would send them back, then he would release her. She apologized as it was impossible for her, as all she could do was summon magic. To send them back, a different magic was required. Kai knew she was not lying because she had no skills to send them back. He asked her then how she was supposed to send them back after they defeated the Demon King. She explained that summoning needed an immense amount of energy, so they relied on their god to summon them. In other words, it was the god who had summoned them. Once they defeat the Demon King, the god himself would send them back. But she did not seem sure about her claim because no previous candidates were ever sent back. This was because they were killed by the Demon King. There might be some survivors, but they went missing. After a short conversation, Kai was ready to kill her, but Shuji stopped him. Shuji told him that he was cooperating only because he thought that Leonora could send them back, but since she could not, then he would like to keep his status of hero candidate. He did not want to become a traitor in that world. Kai asked if they weren't already traitors now. Leonora assured him that she would pretend that nothing happened that night. Shuji said that the crime of killing a saintess was heavy and they could get in trouble for it. The other candidates also agreed with him. Narumi was still on Kai's side. Shuji agreed that killing her was the sensible thing to do, but what would they do after they would kill her? Kai understood Shuji's point of view, but in an unexpected turn of events, he shot Leonora right between her eyes. Everyone was shocked to see that. Leonora's body fell to the ground and Kai used his smoke grenade and disappeared from there. Candidates were not happy with his decision and actions. Kanzaki thought that it actually came down to what he had planned earlier with her. Few hours ago, when Kai and Kanzaki were planning, he told her that the first objective was to capture Leonora and find a way to get back home, but if it was impossible, then he would kill her. He knew that if he captured her and they could not return to their world, then Shuji would try to protect her, and at that point he would kill her and run away. He was planning to bear the sin of killing the saintess alone. He said that that was the reason why he left a few of her guards alive so that they could put the blame on him. He told her to put all the blame on him and return to the Empire. She was not sure that she could do it, but he told her that she could, and she may even use her powers during negotiation to make it all work. She asked him where he would run away to. He told her not to worry about him. Meanwhile, far away in a dark castle, a man was updating about his failed attempt to kill the hero candidates to the Demon King. Demon King told him not to worry, as at the end the hero candidates would definitely show up at the front line. The game was getting interesting, and the Demon King was liking it. 2 days after the incident, Kai was living in the forest. He was close to a city and it would take him half a day by foot to reach there. Since there was no way he would be allowed entry after killing the saintess, he decided to sneak in at night. He needed to earn some money and he saw a tavern. Inside the tavern, it was a lovely atmosphere and someone asked him where he was from. He lied that he was from a nearby town and now he was looking for a job. The man advised him to be an adventurer. He would have to take jobs from the guild and would be paid for it. He also told him that the guild was in dire need of new adventures, so they would not even ask for identification. He stayed at an inn and gladly no one recognized him there. He then went to the guild of that town and saw all kinds of people there. He went to the reception counter and got himself registered. He was asked about his name, age, and origin, so he used his false name Siren, and he lied that the Demon King's army had destroyed his town. Siren was the same code name which he used in the real world too. The receptionist explained to him how the guild worked. There were ranks from A to F. The higher someone was, the higher was the reward. Since he was new, he was registered as an F-rank adventurer. He then went to the bulletin board to take his first task, and soon 3 guys came to pick on him. They were making fun of him, and he really did not like it.